How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lone Wolf, and today got another one of the contracts again. Part of the stage 1 contracts to eventually get this Azov Sprinter thing unlocked. Yeah, this one's called Bad Take. Again, I keep swinging the screen around because it's hard to read it when the writing's in the clouds. Basically, for this one, you've got to recover 3 vehicles and take them again to this yard. It doesn't really bother me because, I mean, it's just an excuse to keep travelling to the other side of the map really and drive sort of whichever way you want. Yeah, so you've got to get 3 vehicles. It's listed them as like 2 separate drop-off points, but they're both at the same yard. They're just a few feet away from each other. There's a Chevrolet at the racetrack, and then I'm going to have to loop round the bottom. There's a Voron there, kind of as you're heading on the way, and then I'll drop them off. And then over in this bit there's a Taiga. There's a goddamn auto vehicle there already, of course. He knows what he's doing. Yeah, so that's it. So it's going to be a bit of a long one. That's what she said, of course. In essence, it's a pretty simple mission. I certainly, I was like messing around a bit tonight, taking it a little bit more chilled. So yeah, it doesn't really bother me that the video is 45 minutes long, but in essence, it's still going to take you, I should imagine, at least 20 to 30 minutes to get this mission done just on sheer distance travelled. I could theoretically take a quicker vehicle because basically I'm going to grab this Chevrolet first. Whichever way you plan the route out, I believe the way I did was the shortest. You're not going to get all 3 vehicles at once. It doesn't make sense to do that. So I'm going to get the Chevrolet, which is a scout vehicle, and then the Voron, but then I'm going to have to, like, you know, drop them off at the warehouse depot, whatever it's calling it. So I don't really need like a load of trailers to be carrying loads of vehicles and all the rest of it. Obviously I've brought a goddamn horse for a vehicle. He's not got a roof rack on. I'll explain why in a minute. As for the loaf behind me, it wasn't really part of what I was doing. It's just where I'm heading. I'd like to have a loaf down that end with a radar trailer. And yeah, I was just like, oh, sod it, I'm not towing a trailer at the minute. It's not really going to make any difference to how fast I'm travelling or anything. When I'm leaving the garage, it's really slow as you leave the garage, and it's not this vehicle or how much you're towing and all the rest of it. It's done it with every single vehicle. Yeah, so this is the first one, the Chevrolet. I think when you normally find it, it's like on its roof or whatever, but as I was doing a lap of the track, I just like knocked it back on its wheels. Yeah, I kind of figured, well, I mean, I've done it before, stacking loaves, but Fat Stack in the comments, he was saying about double stacking loaves, and I certainly could have doubled stack loaves, but while I seen this sort of video and the option, I was like, I'll give it a go. Yeah, so this one's for you, Fat Stacks, or Fat Stack. We're, yeah, in my own head, I mean, I've stacked, I'm pretty certain I did 4 loafs, because I had 3, and they were on top of the club. And then I used the heavy wrecker to get a truck on top of the garage, because I couldn't get the crane high enough to put the 4th loaf on. And then I put the 4th loaf on. And then I packed them all away, because the update was about to release, and it was like, the update before it deleted all the vehicles on everybody's maps, so I didn't want it to delete my loaf tower. Yeah, I wasn't even sure if like the wheelbase of this Chevrolet would fit. That's why I didn't put a roof rack on it. Yeah, so we grabbed the Chevrolet. Job's good. And as far as the crane goes, to be honest, it's sticking up that high. If I face it forwards, it was better just to face it backwards. And I have to say, I mean, it's not obviously completely the same, but kind of has a little essence of a rescue kind of towing truck now. It's got the sort of crane thing sticking out the back. Yeah, as you can see, perfectly stable, doesn't wobble at all. It's more like a bobblehead. Yeah, part of the reason I brought the Zikz, I did actually want to use the Club just because I've already used the Zikz. The only reason I didn't or couldn't was because of the crane. I could have brought something with a small crane, but after yesterday just getting completely trolled with the crane, I even knew in my own head, all I'm going to do is try and put the Chevrolet on top of the loaf, and that would have been nigh and impossible, just a complete pain in the arse doing it with a little crane. It might be possible. A tip for the little crane, if you're having trouble lifting something, is just retract the arm as short as you can, and then you kind of get a little boost where it will lift stuff, but then once stuff gets too heavy, it auto extends the arm and then it just drops back to the ground. Yeah, this crane, to be fair, is still pretty crap considering the size of it, but for, yeah, chucking a scout on the roof, not really an issue. Just trying to get it sort of precisely on. I was yapping away a bit, but I got it on once, and then when I changed the loaf, because obviously I need to be in the loaf to pack the Chevrolet. And by the way, I wouldn't suggest doing this time-wise. I had to have the loaf, like the loaf couldn't be packed on the club when I did it, otherwise it won't let me get in the loaf. So it was like an unstacked pack. When I was doing the 3 and the 4th loaf, I didn't pack, and I think that's why it never made it into a video. The 3 loaves I did, the 4th one I believe I put it on, and then it just fell off after a few seconds, and I was like, nah, I've been there for quite a while at that point. Yeah, the 3, each time you put a new loaf on it, to kind of go down the list and unpack the next loaf and then get into the one underneath and all that, and like, yeah, it was pretty good. It was a good way to burn some time anyway. Let's just look at that. I didn't even realise that was a car until the last second. I thought it was a rock. It's one of them cars that I abandoned the other day. And yeah, I thought I'd leave the loaf there. It was just round this general bottom of the map that I thought I could do with a radar trailer. It seemed like a good idea. Well, yeah, no regrets. Like I said, speed-wise, it wasn't really making any difference. And as far as this goes, again, it was part curiosity. Fat Stack had mentioned it, and then yeah, I didn't really need much of an excuse to do it. It's just, at least tonight I had enough time where I was like, well, if I just get the quickest vehicle and fly through this mission, yeah, 20 minutes, half an hour or so. Messing around with this, yeah, well, so I obviously edited it, putting the Chevrolet on, but it probably took 10 minutes tops, and before I even got to where the Chevrolet was, again, like, perfect timing, my cat turns up as soon as I'm recording or anything. He's like, he knows, and he just appears. So about 14 seconds after I set off from the garage, he appeared. So I kind of left the footage just running while saying hello to him, and then yeah, so you're probably talking like 5 minutes to get the Chevrolet on. But again, well, I don't know, if you, for the fun wise, I was having a good old time. Put my music on and just flying around with the bobblehead Chevrolet loaf. Chevrolet flay. To be fair, the only thing you don't really want to do is lean to the side. I mean, again, the club would have been, apart from the crane situation, but as far as a stable platform, it's the club, the flat face one that I used to stack them. It was in Wisconsin, because another thing with this map, just kind of useless information, but yeah, I wouldn't say this is a good map to be double stacking stuff anyway. Wisconsin had quite a nice firm yard and all the rest of it. There was certain maps, like, was it Flooded Foothills and that, the yard, and that was crap. As soon as you got too much weight, it'd punch the wheels through the floor. And yeah, like I said, loaf-wise, because it's just goddamn professional, putting a loaf on the roof of a loaf is easier than, I'd say, than this Chevrolet. I believe the Chevrolet's got a slightly bigger, not just wheelbase, but yeah, like, you know, how wide it sits, so trying to get it absolutely dead on the roof, with a crappy crane where the rotation speed is horrifically slow and all sorts. And yeah, cheers, I can't remember who off the top of my head, I apologise, but in the comments said, I drove here the other day and I thought you could get fuel from here, and then when I was there it just gave me the option to collect the fuel barrel things, and that was it. But there is actually, you can get fuel from here. Fortunately, I had a goddamn horse with me, so I had just enough fuel, made it to the yard depot thing anyway by the skin of my teeth, but yeah, you can get fuel from there, so it was pretty handy to know. I mean, with the Zikz, it wasn't a major worry fuel on this mission. I've got the roof rack as well, but obviously loaf had to be a bold loaf to make sure I could fit that Chevrolet on, so it cost me 120 litres. By the way, it was random, I left this in just, if there's any newer people, it ain't going to be a game changer or nothing like that. But if you do have the crane, you stick it in the air, it moves the camera to like the height of the crane, so as you can see I'm a lot higher than the vehicle. I can see a lot more of the map. Again, it ain't going to change your life or anything like that, but there is, every now and then, there's been maps where it's just been handy, like if you're in a bit of a forested area and all the rest of it, just to stick the crane as high as you can, and then you can see all over the treetops and yeah, just have a little look what's going on. Like a giant, not selfie stick, but yeah, like a big telescopic arm that you can kind of move the cameras to the top of. And yeah, like I say, I quite like doing this because, well, unlike the crane situation, I was curious to see if this Chevrolet just kept falling off every 5 minutes. I was like, obviously, there's no point. I'm not going to get like too stubborn on it. But as far as the map goes, particularly as we've only got one map as well, I don't even know how many missions we've got. I've obviously only just been doing the contract so far because I want to get that sprinter thing unlocked. But I believe even in my list at the minute, I've only got like one mission. I appreciate there's definitely more than that on this map, but there's obviously not like, you know, 30 or 40 missions, because I'm pretty sure I would have stumbled across more of them by now. And yeah, doing something like this, I don't know. I mean, it's loaf mode. It's definitely not hard mode. It's more like fun mode. But as far as like a little challenge, a little extra challenge on top, not just trying to get there, but trying to yeah, balance a couple of vehicles on your head. Why not? So yeah, this is Vorongrad. Again, this was also tipped over, but just as I was previously driving past, I sort of just clicked it on the way past and rolled it back to its wheels. And a couple of reasons why I wanted a Kolob or a Zikz, something a bit meaty, because I knew at some point I'd be towing a vehicle like this, and the map's already, again, there's definitely like rev caps and all the rest of it, but yeah, the grip, something, it doesn't even, I don't hate it. Again, in an odd way, it's not that I like it, but I at least like that it feels more organic than just a straight up rev nerf and all that. It just feels like the mud is particularly, you know, sinky and slow, and you got a bit of wheel spinning going on. And yeah, I don't necessarily hate it, but I thought bringing something like the Tega or one of the American trucks, you know, just something that's about the size of the Vorongrad. Now when you tow in the Vorongrad behind, it's just going to make a bit of a noticeable difference. And as well, for what it's worth, I didn't even bother, and I probably should have. I'll tell you what, I'll mention it in a minute. It's about fixing the Voron. There, I'm in low range, high-low, and I could get the front wheels on, and that was it. I just had not enough guts. And I'm rarely in the low range these days, but I kind of notice around now. Oh, that was a glitch, not an edit. And I put it back into auto. I have to do like a little wiggle, but just being back in auto, even on this, which it's not as obvious as it is on the trucks where you can have the high range gearbox, but just having a little bit of extra engine power, I was able to get 2 sets of wheels to climb up the rock instead of just one, which makes like a little bit of difference. However, I still kind of got, not beached, but I couldn't then get the 2 rear, oh there you go, that's where it got up that bit. I couldn't really get the 2 rear wheels going. I only edited about 30 seconds out there. I'm basically pulling the winch into me, and even though the Voron has, I believe, no fuel and is all pretty knackered and all the rest of it, I don't know, it kind of just gave me a little nudge the way the mechanics work. Again, you just kind of seem to get a little bit of a bonus just from having something winched. And yeah, it was just, like I say, tiny little last bit, bump me up the hill, fire a winch out, and we're good to go again. Yeah, with the Voron, what I could have done now, I never even really thought about it that much. You can see there it's saying out of fuel because I pressed square just to turn the engine on and see what it was saying. I believe the Voron is pretty smashed at some point, and this was, it didn't really cost me or anything, but it was just, there wasn't much point. I put like 100 odd litres from the Zikz into the Voron, and I never even bothered to check its fuel tank or anything. And unless, I can't remember the Voron being ridiculously bad on fuel, so I've got a feeling the fuel tank would have been leaking basically, so it was just kind of pissing it out anyway, and was going to disappear within a couple of minutes regardless. It wasn't really too difficult to tow, but all I'd say in hindsight, if you were running the same setup as me, again, you don't necessarily have to stack a load of vehicles on the roof, I would recommend it. But let's say hypothetically, perish the thought, if you just put the Chevrolet on top of the roof rack of the Zikz, and then yeah, tow the Voron behind you, there's no point in bringing a trailer for it, because, well, God, especially not the ramped flatbed. That would be a much worse idea. But yeah, what I could have done really is just fixed the Voron's, at least the fuel tank. and then yeah, turn like the engine on, give it a bit of fuel, and especially at this the Zikz is pretty slow. The Vorunner pretty much should be driving behind me at the pace I'm going. But at the minute, I believe, is it turn off engine? Oh, so this must have been the point then where I put fuel in it. I must have just edited it out. I think it was just after I got up that hill. Yeah, you'll see before too long it just says like ran out of fuel. And it didn't really last very long. But up to now, to be honest, I thought things were going pretty well. I thought the game probably would have just tried to flick the Chevrolet off, because I've always sort of thought I wish they'd make it a little bit less eager to, like, when you tip on vehicles it pops off a little bit too quickly sometimes, and obviously even though the Lo4f's planted, it's springing the suspension, so even if the vehicle itself, like where its tyres sit, haven't tipped far enough, if the actual vehicle just boats over to the side, even if it's leaning really hard on its suspension, I believe it'll still unpack it. So yeah, I was like I say, pretty happy with the results so far. I'm surprised I'd got as far as I had. And I still don't think it slowed me down. The only way I'd say it did slow me down, but kind of is a little bit more engaging anyway for the hell of it, is like as I'm driving I'm feathering the throttle a little bit more, trying to go a bit smoother around the corners so I don't flop over to the side too much. Weight wise though, there's not enough. The Lo4f, like I said, he's weightless anyway when he wants to be, but the Chevrolet boating around even that high up, the Zikz is just pretty planted, and if I did use the club, that thing is even more planted, so I don't think either would have tipped. The Dolphin definitely would. As good as it is, obviously I really like the Dolphin, but yeah, it'll tip quicker than this Zikz. Again, apologies for that, there's another little video glitch. Yeah, it seems like the first day it didn't really hit me with the little glitches, unless I just didn't really notice, but I noticed quite a few the last day or two. Well, PS4's not liking it. And this fat hill, I wasn't too worried, but again, I did quickly up and ah like whether to cut off to the left. I need to do it at some point when I've just got a truck with me, or it's going to be a truck and Lo4f. Yeah, because I'm just curious. I mean, again, it's not a horrible way to go or whatever, but if you got like an awkward trailer, Justin Lynch was saying in the comments, he uses the 8-slot trailer quite a lot. I've tried to. It's not like I wanted to be a fan of the 8-slot. It's certainly handy, convenience-wise, the amount of cargo and all the rest of it. It's just, yeah, the amount the legs of the trailer get stuck in. But yeah, even he said he's used an 8-slot on this map, and it's not the best map for it. And I can see why, just because, again, unless they do something with the trailer legs, they need to make the legs where they fold back flush with just the body of the trailer, because they don't raise high enough, not for the length of the trailer. The wheels on the trailer are just too far back to prop them up. And yeah, when you get to the top of this hill, there's like just rocks that are a little bit awkward, nothing special. Even when you're looking now, I potentially could swerve off to the right. Obviously with the leaning tower of Lo4f, it trying to stay on as flat a ground as possible. Can you see now though, the rear wheels were juddering a bit there. I'm in auto, and it's the Zikz. It really shouldn't be doing that. I'm not low on fuel, the engine's not screwed or anything like that. That's that like rev cap situation. You can see it as well at other times on the map. In fact, I don't know, but I'd pretty much bet money on it now. As I leave the garage, I bet I was locked in first gear. Like, this is the advanced special or whatever, I think it's, yeah, 5 gears. It will just lock you, like that map, the area of certain areas of various maps seem to have it where it just won't let you leave first gear. So that's more, it's like situations like that where this was, you know, ticking along. Yeah, I can't go faster than first. I got a bit unlucky now. See, as I've gone around the corner, the Voron grad has steered, and its inside wheel is like just perfectly clipping on the edge of a rock. And the annoying thing is, I knew the Zikz would be able to pull it over, but I just needed like a little run up. And now, what you'll see, as I go through this rock, it leans too far to the side and pops off. I wasn't really bothered, but as I had just seen it save before, so I did the quit and reload thing. It was loading me back up here, so I had pretty sort of easy free goes at attempting it again. Yeah, that must be all of them. And then, to be honest, that last one was a bit annoying because the rear crane leg, I hadn't extended them or anything, and it kept catching the rock. All I did is stick a winch to those trees to the left, just so that once I sprang and started leaning over to the right, it didn't get a chance to go as far. I'm sure it's probably pretty close, but as you can see, it hangs on there pretty well, but just once it officially goes past, like, whatever, I assume the way it's coded, there must be like a certain angle, like at 45 degrees or whatever, it just auto bails. But there is certain situations where it can come in handy. I believe, in fact, it might have even happened there. Once the Chevrolet fell off, the Zikz and Lo4f stayed like on their wheels and everything. And you'll see near the end of the video, there's like quite a good example of where, when you tip in, the Lo4f, I'm always doing it with the Lo4f, auto unpacks, and the way it shifts the weight, a vehicle like the truck underneath that might well have just been about to tip, I don't know, just the way the game calculates it, it's like it fires the weight back, and you can tip back to your wheels quite a lot, when I'm pretty convinced a good few times it's happened where I would have tipped if the Lo4f wasn't on the roof, even though I will happily say, yeah, there's situations where I may have tipped because of what I'm up to, but I still think it's saved me bacon a good few times. And again, as I was driving along, I was just listening to my music. Even now looking at it, it's like 21 minutes. It didn't really feel like 21 minutes. And that's editing, so it was longer than that. That's what she said. And yeah, listen to some music. Funny enough, it's like the first song was like Highway to Hell. Second one was something like Leanne Rimes. Third one, what the hell was it? I can't remember. And then the fourth one, I remember Johnny Be Good. I only remember it because, like, you'll see in a minute. Nothing too crazy, but I remember it when I was on this bridge. Is this the bit coming up? Yeah, you want to be careful here. That rock to the left, the grooves in the road sort of make you want to just clip that rock with your wheel. And I can't remember what video it's on. It was the one where I was using the Dolphin. I hit it at like the worst possible bit. It sort of flicks you then into the rocks on the right, as you've already jackknifed a little bit as well, and then yeah, sort of just encourages to tip over. But again, I'm cool with that. That's what I like. It's a more organic obstacle than just saying, right, rev cap and all that sort of stuff. Figured now's a pretty good chance. Not 100%, but it may well be the thumbnail. Yeah, now, this is why I remember I was listening to Johnny Be Good, because the Lo4f's still swaying around like it was listening to the song, and I swear to God, the song stopped now as the Lo4f stopped swinging, and I was just like, spent a second or two looking at the telly on my phone, like, really? It's like a never-ending meme, the old Lo4f. And not that it really matters, but if you look at the balloons in the background, I did notice that again, cat. They do actually move a little bit. I don't like that one's going from left to right. I don't know if I did sit there long enough if it'll fuck off. God knows, or if there's some kind of loop. I didn't really care enough to find out. I just noticed it when I was editing, and I just sped through it like to see which footage to delete, and I just noticed it was they were actually like moving across the sky. Where I used to live when I was a kid, there was an airport, like not you know, an airport nearby, like probably a private airport, not, you know, private jet level like Cessnas, that sort of thing. Yeah, like the middle of nowhere little country airport sort of thing. And I think they used to do a load of balloon shows from there. I remember just every now and then, randomly, like as a kid, there'd be loads and loads of balloons coming over. And I remember one year as well, I don't know why or what, I'd love to know, to be honest. I must have been about pretty damn young, I would have thought, like 5 or something. And there's loads of old planes, like, I can't say 100%, but I'm pretty certain there'd be like Spitfires, Hurricanes, all like World War II planes. And honestly, I wish I had it like on video or something. Obviously didn't own anything like that back then. Yeah, the amount of planes flying over the house, I don't know why I just remembered it now, to be honest. Well, because of the hot air balloons in this, but they were all flying, like, not in any particular direction. It was weird. They all just suddenly, you just heard loads of planes, and then, I mean, I'll say over our house, not specifically our house, like over the village. They were all just coming from every direction. Looked like they were gonna sort of crash into each other and all sorts. But obviously, they're all at different highs. But yeah, I don't know. It was weird as fuck, just out of nowhere. Like, honestly, it must have been, I'd think, at least 100 planes. But it wouldn't surprise me if it was more like 200-300. And yeah, just in all directions, flying over the village. It was weird, but pretty cool. I wish I was a bit older to kind of appreciate what I was seeing. I didn't really have a clue about Spitfires and none of that or anything. I just was like, yeah. I just remember being in the garden and looking up like, what the hell's going on? Thought I was going to have to become 3 times undefeated World War champions. But it wasn't to be. Got to carry on playing with, God knows, Connects or something. So again, apart from that little hill at the top where it did flick the Chevrolet off, and again, like, if it had, I think I restarted it like 3 times. I was cooking a pizza at the time, so I was kind of like walking back in and out of the kitchen anyway, so I didn't really mind. It was working out pretty nice. Like, when it tipped, it was like, fine. Quit, reload, go and check on my pizza, come back, give it another go, tip, quit, reload. Yeah, but if it had carried on like much longer, I would have just towed it behind me, or I could have just held it on the crane. Could have tried sticking the Chevrolet on the Voronggrad. To be honest, that's a vehicle I should try and use soon. I just need it. If there's a mission where you don't have to carry so much stuff, I'll use the smaller vehicles, not just the Russian stuff. But someone was saying, like, I hope the American vehicles sort of do alright on this map. And yeah, I've not really had a chance to try it yet, but again, I don't think the American vehicles do bad. I did see someone said, was it the P512PF? I think it said they use that and it's done pretty well on this map, and I can see it, to be honest. I did quite like that vehicle anyway. I really like the P16, and the P512PF is kind of just like a, you know, a bit smaller, less extreme version of it kind of thing, but I can imagine it working pretty nice on this map, because it's just, it sort of looks like, say, the Voronggrad, but you've put it on Microsoft Paint or whatever and made it like 1.5 times bigger, so it's just scaled, or scale wise, it's the map, every bump and dip is just gonna be relatively less harmful to that truck. I should imagine the tyres are big enough, the suspension's tall enough and all the rest of it, that I'm sure it bounces around and all that. I do remember that, I will say, if you put the crane on the P512PF, I remember it being a little bit easy to tip, and that was on Wisconsin. Apologies, that was my phone if I just made it. I don't know why, it's like the phone waits until I record and then it's like, hey, have every random pointless message we have. Good old technology. Like I said, back in, yeah, as a kid, you know, video cameras, nothing. When you had a camera, like a disposable camera, I assume. My mum probably had a camera, but again, the film, it's like, you don't be wasting it on selfies and stuff like that. It's like, you had a disposable camera, it's like, right, I've got to make this last 4 years. Funnily enough, I've still got a disposable camera in my drawer. I found it. I should probably attempt to send that in one day. Do places like that even exist anymore? They've got it, wouldn't they? We can get that developed. I don't know if I had that when I had my first car. It might be though. I don't have any pictures that I didn't get my first car. It's annoying. I think Dave might have. Typical. It's always Dave. So my brother asked me the other week if I had a picture of his 300ZX, and I don't have that either. Cause he had it was a really nice one, like the 300ZX. If you look at a standard one, I like them just because I do like old school 90s stuff, and yeah, a lot of the Japanese stuff as well, but they're not the most handsome of cars, just stock. But yeah, like I said, I don't know, it was just, yeah, really nice, like completely blacked out, a little bit like a night rider car, but all the lights were like smoked out black and all the rest of it. The only thing it needed was, it had chrome alloys. It Probably would have been better with just some like twin 5-spokes or whatever. Yeah, I made it here though. See a little dolphin and loaf peeking around the tree in the background. It's like, does he see me? Yeah, I didn't really know what I wanted to do at this point. That's why I hadn't drawn this part of the line yet. But yeah, go along here, kind of up the mountain, and then, as I said, there's a Taiga, there's a loaf already there. He's a goddamn professional, so it is what it is. Yeah, I mean, I could have took the Zikz. I wasn't specifically planning to take dolphin and loaf. This was here from a mission the other day. Oh yeah, when I did a lap look like this, as I go past, I did my horn. I kind of was pushing my luck on purpose, but it actually did it, and then doing the horn as I flew past, and it unlocked the physics because I got close enough. It fell off. But what we've learned is, one, the loaf's goddamn professional, and he got there with it, and then it fell off there once we got to the delivery point. As you can see there, yeah, I quit and reloaded it again. I use the quit and reload all the time. I'm not hiding it or anything. I do use it. Like, I'll happily admit when I use it. I use the shit out of it. Yeah, but I kind of stayed further away this time. You'll see why. I just sort of mention it later. But it is a bit iffy. When I had my stack of loafs, like every day I'd reload and go back, some had moved slightly, and even though the packing like was still activated, if I had to go down the list and unpack them to add the next loaf on and all that, it wouldn't. As soon as you unpack them, they would have fell. So yeah, again, there's pretty useless information at this point. If you've even made it this far into the video, it's, yeah, I salute you. And at this point though, it was nice to have a high range gearbox and just drop the hammer. The Zikz, bless it, it's definitely good for hauling heavy stuff. And again, I wasn't going mad about going a bit slower. I just had a bit of music on and it was quite nice. I just like, this game's quite therapeutic in that sense of, like, half the time I'm not even paying attention to the game. I'm like zoned out, or I'm listening to a YouTube video, but I'm not really watching the video. Well, sometimes I am. Hence why I'm not looking at the screen a lot of the time. But yeah, just listening to something or off in my own thoughts. And you just kind of autopilot this in the background. I've obviously popped a tyre. I'm not even sure which one, to be honest. But I just kept it in high gear and kept going, and it wasn't making any difference to the speed, so I just thought, sod it. And again, you can see this is one of the things I do like about the Dolphin. To get it in high gear, you can get it in high gear when it's in second in auto, but it needs to be fairly high up the revs in second. If you try and do it when it's in the low revs in second, it won't have it. Whereas like the Phoenix you can even get it into high in first gear sometimes. It depends then, you know, if you're going uphill it's probably going to fight against it, but the Phoenix is incredibly lenient. So is the Voron Grad, actually, funnily enough. That truck, the first one I just towed to the garage, that's very nice as far as the high range, and it's not very restrictive with the revs at all. It almost feels like they haven't put rev caps on that. And well, unless they've changed it, I doubt they have, because they don't seem to fix or do a lot. Again, to this day, why on earth they fix stuff like the Cat 745C that you used to be able to pack 2 lots of single cargo on it, and they patched it so you couldn't. It's like one of the most unused vehicles in the entire game. It was probably one of the rare little obscurities that made it like, oh, I could actually go and grab 2 cargo with that. And then yeah, it's now obsolete to 95% of the game's cargo, and it'll only let you have an actual cargo container, of which there's little to no missions where that's even necessary. And again, if you don't mind going slower, the Cat 745C, well, I don't know actually, because it's got a bit of a fat chin on it. To be fair, the Azov's still good. The only thing is I really like Fox's Azov Iceberg. Definitely recommend it if you're getting mods. I'd definitely put that one very high on the list. Pretty safe to say it's probably my favourite mod. But yeah, even the normal Azov, what's it originally called? The Antarctic. Funny, I've seen something in the, well, it's on YouTube, but like the news thing. saying they found microplastics in Antarctica. There's nothing personal against penguins or whatever. The state of the world in 2020 and 2021 and even now 2022, it's like, I don't think I have any fucks left to give. Like, sorry penguins, but yeah, I actually don't give a shit if they found a little microscopic speck of plastic on a place where no one lives. Goddamn horse, as I got here, like I said, the loaf was already here. All I wanted to do was spin the take around, just because if I tow it backwards, the mechanics can sometimes get weird, and it's like the game tries to fight against, like it starts doing tug of war with the winch. I only left this bit in, just purely because, well, you can see I did a barrel roll, tried to get back to my wheels, but when I hit the water, it was like a shock absorber, just stopped my roll. It's got a winch though, again, it's goddamn professional. The only reason I left this bit in is because it actually let me have like my steering ability unlocked. And back at the start of the game, for any of you that are newer, even if you were tipped upside down on your roof, it'd let you steer your wheels. But when you're on the side like this, being able to steer your wheels, you can jiggle the loaf around, and I was able to get out of absolutely everything, because as you can see, like I'm officially on my side. I could fire a winch out, but I'm not. And just by jiggling the wheels backwards and forwards, and sticking it in reverse and then forwards, yeah, goddamn horse, you could get him back to his wheels, hence why, especially with an autonomous winch, he is like literally unstoppable. You will not make it to your destination. But yeah, I really wish they'd just let us have the ability to steer the vehicles again, even when we're tipped, because even in real life, that's, you know, it's not something you couldn't do. Fair enough if you tip some massive 40-ton dumper truck. I agree, maybe you're not going to be able to pull the steering wheel when it's on its side, unless it's still got power steering and all the rest of it, but you know what I mean. A truck this size, you'd be pulling that fucking steering wheel until the wheels steer or the wheel comes off. Oh yeah, and at this point, I mean, to be fair, I had to have like 8 weeks where I couldn't drive me loaf. Yeah, I was going to attach it to the back of the Dolphin. At this point, I didn't even really need to drive the Dolphin all the way there. In fact, I probably won't edit it, or do I? I could go back and just edit the bit out where I drove the Dolphin there, since I suppose that didn't really end up being particularly useful. I'll leave it in, that's what she said, because it was quite a nice quick, like dropping the hammer and getting going with the Dolphin. But yeah, I didn't really think of that till now. I probably could have made the video, might have even made it just under 40 minutes, which is what I was at least aiming for in the end. I thought I'd be more like 30 minutes with this video, but again, I have been messing around a bit, so it is what it is. I need a bit of me loaf time. But to be fair, as you can see, he's it's not that slow. This Tiger, by the way, yeah, I couldn't have fixed it because this loaf's a bold one. He's not got a roof rack. This Tiger, I believe, is, if not fully fixed, it's, you know, pretty good. Whereas the Voron, well, was the Voron smashed when I got it? That is actually a good question. Yeah, there's every possibility the Voron was actually not that bad when I got it. It was just pretty bad by the time I got it there. But this Tiger is pretty healthy, and I was able to fire the engine on. It's also got full fuel, that's another thing. The Voron, I'm pretty certain the Voron, yeah, probably was already smashed up, because I don't get it had any fuel, and again, I'm pretty sure the fuel tank would have been popped and it's just dropping all of it. But yeah, I can turn the engine on, so the Tiger's driving along behind me. And the nice thing when you do, like, even when you just tow in 2 loafs, when you hit mud, just hit the winch button and it'll automatically make the vehicle behind drive into you and push you out the other side of the mud, and then you're away. I do it a couple of times with this. Works like a good one. And yeah, like the Zikz, I'd say I'm probably willing to bet I'd be going quicker than the Zikz is. Maybe even Dolphin, you know, because the Dolphin would go quicker than it will let you tow a vehicle. But the Dolphin, particularly with like high range trucks, not just the Dolphin, you stick it in high range and the game devs have just made it so whatever vehicle you're towing is like, it just goes about 5 mile an hour slower than the Dolphin would like to naturally sit in high range. So you can get in high range sometimes, but it'll do the stalling thing more often. As soon as you hit some resistance, it'll tap out easier. So to be fair, I probably am going about as quick either way, and I don't care if this was slower. Again, one thing that is really nice with a Lo4f that you'll appreciate if and when you drive it is how nice and smooth it is, because this game, a lot of vehicles can be a bit erratic, but the Lo4f's just, yeah, it's never an issue. I mean, get yourself a Lo4f, that's what we have learnt from this video. See, now I'm in the mud, but just hold the winch button and then the Tayga's pushing me through it, and when I get to the other side I'm off. I did as well, again, yapping away, but it might have been on the bridge, and just before the bridge I turned the engine off on the Tayga just to see for my own curiosity and demonstrate how fast or slow the Lo4f would go, like, you know, towing it under its own steam. And it was obviously slower than with the engine on, but not that bad. Particularly, I believe, when I crossed the whole bridge, I think the engine was off for most, if not all of it. And yeah, fairly decent pace. I mean, again, for comparison, the Zikz that I did the first part of the journey was towing the Voron Grad that had its engine off because it's knackered and got no fuel in there, and didn't it take me about 30 minutes to get from the garage to grab the Chevrolet and all the rest of it? So, and I believe by comparison, I know it's a shorter length of map, but I think it only took me about 6 minutes to get these two from yeah, where you're supposed to find the vehicle back to this garage. So yeah, pretty good, pretty nice little drive. And the old fuel as well, it's another thing. If you ever like are low on fuel and you got a Lo4f with you, even if you've only got 20 odd litres left, stick it in the Lo4f, he'll travel far and wide on 20 litres. I think, I can't quite see because it shrinks the screen a bit, but I think I put 20 litres in him when I set off from back where I got this Tayga, and he's still got, is it 10? Again, like a slightly shaded black box behind the fuel counter would be nice, and the map, not the map, sorry, the mission in the top corner. Yeah, for this, so the Tayga, you've got to deliver to this box. As soon as the Tayga touches the box, it didn't say anything, but you see in the top right corner there was both the Voron and the Tayga listed under one of the drop-off points, whereas it just deleted the Tayga off the list. And then now, obviously, I just need to drop the Chevrolet into that square next to it. But if you remember, it fell off last time when I drove past with the Dolphin and did the horn. That's why I just did the horn in the Lo4f and reversed into it, just to see if I could tip it off. But then what I did notice is when I go far enough away, as it does the physics lock thing, it just jiggled the Chevrolet a tiny bit, so I was like, right, I'll get a bit closer. Again now, winch, what are you doing? Like, literally fired through the entire Zikz to reach the Voron. I don't know who came up with the winch stuff, but yeah, one last little tap. I made it without having to unpack the Lo4f to unpack the Chevrolet. Chevrolet tipped off, Lo4f caught him because again he's goddamn professional, he knows what he's doing. See? And then right at the last second, take some engine damage. But it got the mission done. I didn't have to do some double unpack. I didn't even have to move the Chevrolet. Lo4f headbutted him into the goal. Yeah, the Voron Grad now, like, ram everything out of the way. Deliver it to that box. That's interesting. It seemed to take a bit longer for the Voron to tick the mission off there. You see there's, again, apologies, I'm kind of talking over it, but as the Zikz tipped, the Lo4f got auto unpacked, and then the Zikz immediately flicked back because of the way it shifts the weight. Lo4f's having a well-deserved rest. He also obviously escaped from this situation. Yeah, XP, was it like 1,500 XP? I'll be honest, I don't really care about XP because I've had shitloads more than I needed for about a year and a half. Money about 15 odd grand, not that bad because like I said, I was messing around on the mission. If you just got a quick truck and got it done, yeah, 20-30 minutes. But yeah, Lo4f's goddamn beast, get yourself a Lo4f. That's about it for today, though. I hope you enjoyed. I hope that helps. Thanks for watching. Like I say, get yourself a life, get yourself a pair of lives, and I'll be back soon.